It's Bill, and you're tuned in to 3 Questions and a Song, episode number 67, where the title of the podcast says it all, except for when it doesn't, because I never ask 3 questions. My name is Bill. With me tonight is Bradley Scott Malone. What's up, Bradley?
How you doing, Bill? It's good to be back.
I'm doing well. This is your second time being on a show with me, by yourself this time, so you might get to talk a little more. So, as I kind of alluded to, I say 3 questions, but then I end up asking a bunch. But they're usually pretty rapid fire, no real segue in between them, unless we're doing the conversational thing, which happens, and then we end up with a long show. But let's start off with the first question I have for you, and it should be noted that he has no idea what I'm going to ask him. So I was reading your bio today, and I was hoping that you'd take us through your journey in life and music, because they kind of take an inspiring turn and get us to where you are today.
Well, I originally I started writing music back in the very early '90s, and I was fortunate enough to be a part of an armed forces entertainment group called Tops and Blue, which unfortunately it's not a thing anymore. But it allowed certain members of the military to sort of take their skills and go around to all the different armed forces troops. So I had that opportunity in 1992 and 93, and got some attention from a local radio station in South Georgia. And that kind of snowballed. This was all during the unplugged craze, I'll call it, with Eric Clapton. The whole MTV unplugged craze was happening, and I very quickly got an invite to talk to some people with a couple of different record labels. So they ended up flying me out to San Francisco to audition for a couple of different A&R guys, and they went pretty well. I got a letter back from I believe it was, at that time it was Polydor. There was an invite to their artist development program, and it was all contingent about on me finishing my enlistment and so on and so forth. So, but by the time I got done with my enlistment, Polydor was gone. It was absorbed into I think A&M at the time. So that offer sort of fizzled, and that sort of triggered a little bit of a downward spiral in my personal life. But I got married in 1997, and I kind of put the music up and was a dad for a while, until 2017, when I finally kind of got the courage up to go and pursue it again. And I was just fortunate enough to be in the right place at the right time to meet Bob McCutcheon, who took an interest in my music, and put out my first album, 80 in the Rain, in 2017. And we just released Shades of Indigo here in August. So it's been a real blessing to work with him and to be a part of the Vault Records label.
As I said, no real segues. We'll get to that eventually. So you also recently wrote a book called "What Would Grandpa Do?" How did that come about? And give us a little short infomercial so people can go check it out as well.
I've had a relatively peculiar life, and I was on my way back on a business trip in March of 2020. I was flying from Tulsa to Atlanta, and I caught the last flight before they shut the entire airport down to COVID. And I'm on this flight to Atlanta, and I'm surrounded by people coughing and sneezing, and I've realized that there's a real chance that I could contract this and die. And so I really started to think about what do I have to leave behind to my children's children. will they ever really know anything about me? Will it just be songs that they can stream, or things that their grandmother might tell them? So I started writing down things that I wanted them to know, and I put them on little snippets of paper and Post-its, and it just ended up in this like a little box. So after a couple of weeks, this pile got really big, and so we tried to figure out, what do we do with this? How do I make this part of my estate? And so I shared it with some friends, and we talked about maybe assembling it into like a loose leaf notebook, and then just leave that with, my will and so on and so forth. Back then it wasn't, we weren't sure if, everybody was going to get it and die. It was a really scary time. And I was sort of a prime candidate. I'm type A positive blood. I had some underlying health issues that might make me a little more susceptible to it. But it didn't turn into a book until I assembled it, and then I bounced it off of a couple of friends who kind of nudged me to publish it as a memoir, and sort of a self-help book for young people. So that's how it came about.
And where is it available at?
You can pick it up at any online retailer. Target sells it. Barnes and Noble has it. You can get it online at Amazon. It's amazing. It's been picked up. It's selling all over Europe right now, in Germany. It's even it's selling in Paris. So it's been quite a fun ride to watch this go.
Now, are you originally from the Pittsburgh area?
I am not. Originally I grew up in rural West Virginia, and I joined the Air Force in the early '90s, and kind of trekked across the United States, and ended up here back in Pittsburgh in 1997, and I've been here ever since.
What being out of the scene and coming back into the scene years later, what have you noticed has changed, both for the better and for the worse?
Well, and off the top of my head, I can tell you the most important thing is, in 1992, it was very difficult to get attention from a label. There were only a handful of major labels back then, and getting in that door was like getting a lottery ticket. To get your music, public, get it distributed across the country, it was like a lottery ticket. So all you needed was one song. Well, now coming back into it in 2017, I got a real check on reality, because there's millions of performers in the door, and with dozens and dozens of songs. So your music has to meet a certain threshold before you can even think about distributing it.
Now I'm going to ask you a couple off the wall questions like I normally do. If you were able to sit down on a bench with your music idol, first of all, who would it be? And you're only allowed to ask that person one question. So who would it be, and what would you ask them?
Jeez, it would be a toss up. It would either be Johnny Cash or John Prine. But for the sake of your question, let's just say it was John Prine. If I had to ask him one question, I would probably ask him, how do you make your music so simple and so powerful?
Okay, next question. Tell me about an embarrassing moment you've had on stage.
Oh, let's see. Which one?
Take your pick.
It seems like pretty much every show has its moment, whether it's a technical issue or otherwise. I'm trying to think. I just recently I had a show in Ambridge, and I had my entire rig fail, So I ended up I ended up playing for the folks completely acoustic, unplugged for real, and so that was a real moment.
I think I actually saw you post about that. Didn't it take out to the guitar's internals?
Yeah. It was. I don't know whether I had a power surge or whatever, but it fried the Fishman in my D18 here behind me, and I just got it back from my pianos and stuff a few days ago, and but that's the most recent epic fail on stage that I had. So,
if you're not allowed to read into this too much and bail and say I wouldn't do that, I may have asked you this in the SOS. If you're just waiting at the crossroads for the devil, what would you sell your soul to him for to gain musically?
it's too late. There was a time when I was 22, 23 years old, maybe I would have had a different answer because I was pretty hungry. I was pretty desperate. But I've confidently given my soul to Jesus Christ, and He's taken good care of me ever since.
I actually really like that answer. It should be noted that I teach at a Catholic school, so the question that's everyone panics when I ask that. I'm like, I'm not really asking you what you would sell your soul for.
At one time, we might have had a discussion.
All right, last off the wall question, and then I'll give you a chance to have your MTV storytellers moment. If you could play with, you know what? I'm going to ask you too. If you could play with any musician in the history of the world at any venue, who would you want to play with and where?
At any venue.
And it can be like a non-venue too. Like Metallica played it at Antarctica, and Kiss played in the ocean for the Sharks.
I would have to say I would want to play with Jim Croc and Mari Muleisen in my living room.
So you can hang out with them at your house when you're done?
Yeah. Ask them all the other questions I wanted to ask.
All right. So what I need from you now is we're about to feature your song California. Tell me a little bit about that song.
California was a song that I wrote based on that period of time when kind of everything fell apart there in 92, 93. And at one point, it seemed like things were really happening really fast. And sometimes, people depart when the chips are down. And sometimes you think that it's the worst thing that ever happened, that somebody actually left. But then you have a little time to reflect, and you realize that it was actually a really good thing.
Okay. I'm half tempted to put you on the spot. You're holding the guitar, and I'm not going to do it. So for those of you that are tuned in right now live, you're not actually going to get to hear California. You'll have to wait until it's posted on the website, which may be tomorrow at 6 a.m. or Tuesday at 6 a.m. We're kind of flying on different time schedule with this one. But what you're going to hear next is California by Bradley Scott Malone, and we'll be right back. I almost asked you to play it live.
I'll do it.
You want to do it?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll put my eyeballs on here so I can see what I'm doing. happiness. Smile on my faithfulness is all I remain. Joyfulness, sign of since every day is sweet. Your town, your town. I heard all about let me get you out. Makes all the nervous young men just say the time is was happiness, smile faithfulness is our baby. Joyfulness, like a sign of home. Since every day is sweet, your town, your town, your town.
So that is the first time I've ever attempted that. It was cool. I probably am gonna have to crop it out of the episode. The vocals were a little overpowered by the guitar, but
Gotcha.
I miss. I used to do the show live in my living room, and the bands would play in my living room while I was doing it.
Wow.
So every once in a while, something like this will happen, and I go back to that time. I'm sure you saw the grin when you first started playing. Also, for Facebook and YouTube, that is Bradley Scott Malone there in the video who was playing the guitar. That was his song, so clearly I have permission to play it. Right?
Correct, sir.
They're still gonna take it down. I guarantee it. All right, so you just heard California by Bradley Scott Malone. You're listening to episode 67 of 3 Questions and a Song. My name is Bill. We're coming right back in on, I don't know, question number 6 or 7 at this point. It comes from Gallo Locknez, who basically mentions that you've been playing music for a while, and that he wants to know what keeps you motivated to keep creating and putting out music.
I think for me, I was never one of those writers who could sit down with a blank pad of paper and a pencil and just write. I mean, there's people that are really good at that. I'm part of the Songwriters Guild of America, and they've got lots and lots of seminars and people to kind of coach you, and there's formulas you can use to write songs. I was never any good at that. The majority of my songs are experiential. They're either something that I witnessed or experienced, or they're just a feeling that I get. And it's hard to describe because sometimes I'm just a conduit for whatever that whatever that energy is, when it happens, it's a beautiful thing. But most of the time I don't have any access to it, if that makes sense. It's kind of corny sounding. But when I'm kind of in the zone, I have a pen and I'm writing and it's coming out and there it is. And most of the time I don't have to mess with it very much. Most of my better songs I've written in about 10 minutes. Every time I think I have a great rhythm or a great chord progression, and I keep trying to mess with it and tinker with it, it just doesn't work. So most of my better songs happened in under a half an hour, and there it was. It's weird. It's just weird.
What's coming up next for you?
Well, we have a pretty special show coming up. I am going to be traveling south of the Mason-Dixon line down to Sistersville, West Virginia. I'm going to be playing in a restored theater down there called the Old Gaslight Theater. There's a downstairs area called the Gold Derrick Gallery, and I'll be there next Saturday at 7:00. I had originally tried to work this out much earlier in the year, and I was going to use a Ticketmaster function to do the online ticketing, and because it was an out-of-state venue, it just turned into a fiasco. So I'm just gonna go down. We're gonna have a good time. There's no admission. We're just gonna have a great time, kind of celebrate small town America, and it's where I'm from. So we're hoping to see a lot of friendly faces and familiar faces show up. So I'm excited for it.
And I'm assuming you have copies of the album with you, but where else can people get it if they don't make it south of the Mason-Dixon line?
Right now, I have copies available when I do perform live, but most of the time, folks are just accessing it on Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio. I think Apple Music has it, YouTube Music has it, pretty much any streaming platform. I find that most of the time, if we try to sell CDs now, but people don't even have CD players in their cars. But
I still do.
And I mean, this is the disc. It came out really, really, really well. The artwork came out really nice. We got a little live version of a little winery that I played a couple of years ago. We sort of colorized it and made that the back sleeve. So it came out really nice. So we're real thrilled with that.
I got 2 submissions pretty much on the same day for this show. One of them was your song California, and the other one is from, I think his name, he had 3 names again. His name is Jesse. Well, let me find it. Jesse Stone Creechman. And the song he sent me is Pennsylvania. That's kind of, I think it's a coincidence, but
it's a coinky dink.
Yeah. 3 names and pretty much the same day, and both named after states. It was weird.
That is definitely odd.
And I have an email out to him replying to see if he wants to come on the show. But
not familiar.
He is from. Let me pull it up. And you're going to understand why you're not familiar. He is from Saint Lazare, Quebec, Canada.
Okay.
But he apparently lived in Pennsylvania for a little while, and that's what the song's about.
I know you have quite a reach with this show. I mean, I think maybe a lot of people watching here don't realize how many people watch this.
It's, I think I was telling you the other day, the website gets about 250,000 hits a month and about 38,000 unique IP addresses. And it's on the different stations that are involved with the website are in Texas, the United Kingdom, Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, San Diego, here in Leechburg. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. But yeah, there's definitely a reach. I get music sent to me from all over the world. I got a song sent to me from Iran, a metal song, where it's actually illegal to make metal. I've talked to artists all over the world. Wales, the UK, Portugal, Italy. There was another one in the Middle East, but we didn't mention that's where he was from because he didn't want to, and I'm not going to throw him under the bus. But just all over the place. Switzerland, the Netherlands.
That's awesome.
It is, and it's coming from my house in the middle of nowhere, Leechburg, Pennsylvania, which is kind of cool.
I knew about the broadcast, even before SOS. I was aware of it, and that's probably just because I have other friends in the industry. But yeah, it's pretty impressive. How often do you interview folk rockers like me?
Well, because the Pennsylvania Rock Show would include you, and 3 questions in the song include that type of genre, probably more often than you would think. I couldn't put a number on it right now because it's school year time and the brain is fried all the time. For anyone who's familiar with the show, I usually record in AK Music Scene Studio, which is my living room. But it is currently under construction because the ceiling fell in, which was, I think, the day before. No, that was Dave Hillis, also from the Vault. We were supposed to record with Dave Hillis, and the day before his interview, my ceiling fell in.
Wow.
He is the guest on the Pennsylvania Rock Show this week. So another Vault artist.
He's fantastic. Fantastic.
And he's another guy with a great story to back up what he's doing.
A lot of people don't know who he is. I mean, if you followed rock in the 1990s, I mean, he was a name that I was familiar with back then.
We'll just throw out the word Seattle, and they can come listen to the Pennsylvania Rock Show to find out what I meant by that. But yeah, I've interviewed artists from all kinds of different genres. I interviewed a country artist that is from Sweden. His name is Hicks.
Wow.
So, and I've been doing this since 2004. So I've spoken to a lot of people. Some of them in their side bands, like John Bechtel, who is currently the keyboardist in Ministry. He is from Pennsylvania. And of course, I'm blanking on his band name, but he had his own local band, and I interviewed him from his local band. And I interviewed a band called Here Kitty Kitty out of California. Their guitar, Here Kitty Kitty, yep. The guitar player is Cordell Crockett from Ugly Kid Joe. So,
really,
yep. He plays bass in Ugly Kid Joe, plays guitar in Here Kitty Kitty. But yeah, I've done a lot and talked to a lot of people, and I really enjoy it. And my favorite part really is hearing new music and getting to talk to people about what they do.
Oh, it's good stuff, man. I enjoy it. I have a little reminder on Facebook, and when you're live, I like to tune in and just kind of check out and see what's going on. Even though I don't profess to know anything about metal or anything like that. I enjoy it.
It's Chris Thunderwolf Dotson here popping in from Wolf's Customs. He is Wolf's Customs is a sponsor of my radio station at buildthescene.com/radio. He and his wife Raven, they do custom finishes on instruments.
Nice.
A lot of guitars. They do a thing called Hollow Flash, which kind of gives it like a rainbow look. Yeah. And he actually just did a Dean Flying V that with the Eddie Van Halen red and white and black design on it. Oh yeah, Chris points something out. This is a question I have to ask you before I let you go. So one of my goals is to get Dave Grohl to come on to one of my shows, whether it be 3 Questions and a Song, Pennsylvania Rock Show, or Friendly Fire, which we haven't even talked about. But to the point that I now have this official Dave Grohl question that I ask everybody. And the question is, if you were standing in the stands at a show, holding up a sign saying you want to come up on stage and play, what band would you be trying to play with, and what song would you want to play with them? Because the Foo Fighters are known for doing that.
Boy, you got me there. Yeah, you stumped me there. I like Dave Grohl, but I you know what? Honestly, if you ask me to name one of his songs,
you can pick anybody. It doesn't have to be Dave. Who would be your Dave Grohl? In other words, who would you go up on stage with?
Oh, who would I go up on stage with? Oh, okay. You know what? Bob Dylan is coming here to Moon in November.
He's coming to Moon? Where's he playing in Moon?
He's playing at the UPMC facility there at Robert Morris.
Okay.
Tickets went on sale yesterday, and of course they're absurdly expensive. But yeah, I would definitely jump up on stage with Bob for sure.
Start making your sign.
There's a Dave Grohl connection to the Vault, an indirect connection. The inspiration for building that studio.
Oh yes, the board.
Yeah.
As
Bob McCutcheon watched that movie on Netflix on an airline flight and got the inspiration to get a Neve and build a studio. So there's something to file away.
Maybe I can use that.
Talk to him about that.
Have Bob make contact with him and say, hey, you inspired this. And then he can say, oh, by the way, I know this guy.
I found him a couple years ago. I found Bob one of the original flyers from that movie. And I bid on it on eBay and won it and gave it to him. So it was Sound City, I think it was called, Sound City movie. So yeah, it's real special to him. So if you ever get a chance to talk to Bob, definitely bring it up.
I had never met Bob until we did that whole SOS thing together, and I didn't meet him until Royal Honey's CD release.
He's a special guy. Yeah, you should talk to him.
I made it a point. He was up in the balcony. I made it a point to go up and introduce myself. I mean, we talked in meetings and things over Zoom for SOS, but never in person.
You should interview him. He's very, very interesting guy. He's my own Clive Davis.
Chris is commenting on your guitar. I'm not sure if he means the one behind you or the one you're holding.
This is one of my smaller body guitars. This is a triple 15 M. I love Martin mahogany guitars. That's kind of my thing. So I like D18s and anything they make's made out of mahogany. I'm there.
And what's the one hanging up behind you?
This is a vintage 18 I've had for quite a while. It's starting to get a little patina on it. But really pretty much I bought this with pianos and stuff in 08 or 09, and I've hung on to it for forever. I go through instruments pretty frequently. If I don't play it, I sell it and trade it. I don't hang on to stuff I don't play. So yeah, I don't carry too much. I used to collect Martins. It got out of hand. But I'm down to what I use on stage now, pretty much.
I'm actually working on a website slowly for a musician here in the valley that I live in, who has decided that he's going to start selling his guitar collection. The problem is there's so many pictures he needs to take that I can't do anything because he has to spend time taking the pictures.
The better the pictures, the higher the price.
And he if anyone's out there knows the name, they're going to be like, "Are you kidding me?" It's Bill Duff, who has taught many, many, many musicians. He was a music teacher at an elementary school. He also taught a lot of local musicians that I started doing the Pennsylvania Rock Show with back in 2004. And he most recently was playing with the Vogues, to give you an idea where he stands.
That's awesome.
So he's a name that people would know in this area for sure. And he's working on getting ready to sell his guitars. So if anybody wants a Bill Duff guitar, I'll let you know when his site's done.
That'd be awesome. Love to see him.
Hey, Bradley, I need you to ask a question of Vaz for me. It's spelled vase, pronounced Vaz.
Vaz. Vaz it is. Okay, Vaz. I would like to know what the significance of the quarter is in your video, Good as Dead.
That's definitely a pinpoint question. Now I have to go ask them too. I will wait until next episode though, so that I don't ruin it. They recently played in Katanning, and they are from Michigan.
Pretty intense.
They played with it was Tomorrow When, who is an acoustic artist that I had never heard of. From I think he said he drove an hour and a half to get to Katanning, but he is from Pennsylvania. And then a band called Royce, who was phenomenal. They played rock with hip hop and some soul in it. It was amazing.
Wow.
And then Vaz played next. They actually invited me out. I did some photography for them that night. And then the final band was, of course, I'm going to blank on their name. Animal Sun, out of California, like the state of California. So there were two local bands, and then a Michigan band and a California band. And it was, I stayed the whole night, and I really only had to be there for the band that hired me, which tells you what I thought of the music that was happening. I really enjoyed myself, and I wish, I hope that all of those bands play closer to me again so I can go see them. But so let's see, BradleyScottMalone.com to find Bradley Scott Malone.
Not hard to remember.
His social media is on there. If you go to buildascene.com and check out the podcast episode, it is also listed there. The video that we just recorded will be there, and all of the I'm going to say recent, but they go back really far. All of the podcast episodes are there as well. Pennsylvania Rock Show starts at episode number 289, but we're on number 587. So there's like 300 episodes of that available. 67 episodes of 3 Questions and a Song, 6 episodes of Friendly Fire, which I will tell you about off the air, Brad Scott. Do you go by Brad?
Yeah. You know why we use my entire name? Because if you way back when we first started,
I do know. That's where I got the quote from tonight.
Oh, really?
I just typed in your name, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I didn't look and see it wasn't your picture.
You get if you type in Brad Malone, you're going to get an NHL hockey player, just page after page after page.
I wonder if that's I'm trying to remember what they called him Bugsy. There was a Malone that recently played in Pittsburgh, and his dad was played as well. I wonder if it was him.
Oh yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. But yeah, if you type in Brad Malone, you get an endless assortment of stats on a hockey player. So we made the strategic decision about 4 years ago. Let's just use the whole name, that way that if you search the whole name, you'll get me. So,
cool. I want to thank you for hanging out with me tonight. Don't forget to hang out a little longer when we go off the air. This has been episode number 67 of 3 Questions and a Song. You can find that at buildascene.com. You can also find the other 2 podcasts that I mentioned, Pennsylvania Rock Show and Friendly Fire, as well as our radio station, by going to that website. My name is Bill. I will catch you on the 1st and 15th of each month for this podcast, every Friday for the Pennsylvania Rock Show, once a month for Friendly Fire, and who knows where else I will pop up. Maybe you'll see me at a show. I surprised Doppler effect last week.
You're welcome to come to any of my shows anytime.
Thank you. All right. So what you're going to hear now is John Lane, who's going to tell you how to subscribe, leave comments, and all those kind of things. And if you're listening on Rootaroo Radio on the beaches of San Diego, California, or on Build a Scene, make sure you stay on those two radio stations and support the local and unsigned music from all over the world that you'll hear on both of those stations. We'll catch you next time.